I heard that with the advancement of AI, that if you live 5 more years, you're going to live to be 100. All right, let's talk about it. This is the real story with Adam and Sherry. I'm Adam Hamalian,
And I'm Sherry Hutchens.
and this is where two broker associates talk about all things real estate. Hey, Sherry.
I don't understand that joke.
It's not a joke. Actually, I read this that the advancements with AI in the medical field are revolutionary, that they're able to go and do, the targeting chemo based on your DNA or take the symptoms, the aggregate of all of your symptoms and put it through AI to get better diagnosing tools. I mean, like they're not there yet,
Yeah.
but the projection is that if over the next 5 years, as the medical community learns how to use AI better, that
Mhm.
they're going to be able to deal with ailments quicker, faster, more efficiently, and it might extend our lifespans. I got to tell you, I'm not 100% sure I'm excited about that, but
I,
whatever.
I don't want to be the guinea pig that they, test all this on because I mean AI is turning out to be not be completely fail safe. I saw yesterday, and I cannot believe I'm going to say this woman's name on our podcast, but Kim Kardashian claims that she flunked the bar, California bar, because she was getting answers to testing on sample testing off of AI and or chat GPT, and so she's blaming it on them for her not passing. So I don't know.
Well,
I think AI has a little bit of it's good for some things.
yeah. Well, unfortunately, her dad's no longer with her to help her
Yeah,
study for the bar test because that he probably would have been really good at that.
absolutely.
I so AI is well, we could talk about AI just for a little bit. We have a subject for the day we're going to get back to, but
Yep.
um, AI can be really fun, and I think that our generation kind of gets accused of using it as a glorified Google search, and I'll
Mhm.
say guilty as charged. I definitely do use it for research. I also use it in a very juvenile way. Do you want to tell people the AI image I sent to you earlier today?
I wasn't going to out. Oh, earlier today, yes, a bunch of pickles dressed up in ball gowns at a pickle ball.
That's right, a pickleball. Yeah,
I
completely
thought you were going to
worthless.
mention when you turned us into Muppets. I mean, that was a
Oh,
use of AI.
yeah, yes, that was another juvenile um,
I didn't
AI.
say juvenile.
Yeah. Well, it was what was interesting is that I just put in a photo of the two of us and I said turn us into Muppet characters. And not only did it do a great job of that, including putting me in a blue shirt, it went and got the name of our podcast because it I don't know how it knew that that's who it was. I'm sure maybe it's just looked at my own computer and it put the real story on a marquee behind us.
That is so bizarre.
Yeah, it was yeah,
That's a good use of AI. That's fun stuff.
yeah, it's fun, harmless and fun.
Yes.
Um, so, not interesting part of the market. I feel like, here we are late fall, kind of typical for the end of October, beginning of
Yep.
November. People
Yep.
are beginning to think about holidays and holiday travel, and
Yep.
home buying gets put on the side burner.
Hmm.
And home sellers like, I don't want to have my house on the market during the holidays. I want to put a Christmas tree up and not worry about the mayhem. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. I think
it,
the
it,
only people who are selling this time of year are people who have to sell for some reason.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's get actually onto our topic because I'm kind of excited about it. We've been meaning to tackle this for a while and touched on it every few months as things come up. But we want to talk about a living community in Walnut Creek called Rossmoor.
Hmm.
Formerly, it had a name Leisure World, which is kind of a hilarious name. Were you ever around when it was still called Leisure World?
No, no. It's in Rossmoor as long as I've been in the business.
Yeah,
I did
yeah.
Walnut Creek. I grew up in Livermore, so yeah, I don't remember the Leisure World days.
So, the huge sidetrack here, but the as you pull into Rossmoor Parkway, you make that right turn by Savers. On
Hmm.
the other side of the street from Savers is a park, and at that corner of the intersection, there's this big man-made rock formation that there used to be. I don't know how big it was, like an 8 foot diameter globe that I think was mechanized and would spin. And I used to play over there with my kids when they were younger. There's a little
Really?
park there now. And I saw this, weird base that I couldn't quite figure out what it was because at first I just thought it was a natural rock formation. And then you're following your kids around and we were at the top and it was like, this is absolutely man-made. And there's like this big hole where something would have gone into it.
Wow.
And sometime in the last few years, I saw a picture that there used to be this giant globe or world, uh, signifying leisure world. And I guess
Uh-huh.
somebody finally figured out that nobody wanted to live in an amusement park.
It makes me think of that movie Cocoon. Remember that?
Yeah.
Leisure World. It should have been the name of, yeah, where they all lived there. Yeah, I
I,
think
I
Rossmoor
think
is a better name.
I think it's kind of interesting that we are both older than Wilford Brimley was when he was filming that movie.
Oh,
And he
he,
just seems so old and decrepit.
I think he was born looking like that.
I think he
He
was
probably,
like early 50s when he filmed that.
wow.
Do we need to talk about how young the Golden Girls were, or should we just keep moving?
Let's talk about Rossmoor.
All right. So Rossmoor is they like to advertise themselves as an active adult community, also sometimes referred to as a 55 plus community.
Hmm.
They really don't want to call themselves retirement, which I think is actually pretty fair,
Hmm.
because the vast majority of people, I forget what the stat is, but it's like 70% of the people are still working when they move into Rossmoor.
Yes, yeah. There's a commute period in Rossmoor, lining up to go out the gate every morning and back in at night.
Yeah. Um, of course there's passes for people that live there so they don't have to go through the gate,
Right.
wait to be let in. But yes,
But they got to watch for stoplights. There's a stop sign right inside the gate. So
yeah.
anyway,
So it's an active adult community. About how many people or how many homes are there in Rossmoor?
over 7,000,
Yeah.
mostly co-ops and condos, but about 60 single-family homes.
Yeah. And about 10,000 residents. So some of them
Hmm.
are single person living there, some of them are couples.
Yep.
Um, I'll say normally no children, though occasionally adult children will move in. We kind of have an
Yep.
interesting story about an adult child moving to Rossmoor this year. We had a client looking, so he was old enough to move into Rossmoor.
Hmm.
And one of the reasons why he was moving in was because his 90 plus year old mother lived there. So he was moving into Rossmoor for himself, but also partly as the kind of the family member to live close to his mom,
Yep.
who was in great condition.
Well, I didn't get to meet her, but you said she came to the home inspection, and I was expecting this frail little woman in a walker, maybe a wheelchair, and apparently she had just bought a new car, was driving herself around, and I don't know, was she a pickleball person?
I don't know if she was pickleball, but she taught one of the water aerobics classes on
Yes,
Saturday
that's what it
mornings at the
was.
fitness center.
Yeah. We should all be so healthy at 90 something years old, right? She might have been in better shape than her son was.
Yeah, it's hard to tell, but definitely keeping active.
Good
Uh,
for her.
yeah. So, I mean, that just kind of gives you the span of people that you might find living
Yeah.
in Rossmoor.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how old our client was, 60, early 60s, and then
He
his
was
mother,
late 60s,
and then mother who was early 90s,
early 90s.
and
Wow.
everybody in between, male, female,
Yeah.
married couples.
Most of the people that we put into Rossmore, and that's a fair number, have been, pretty active people. They're just downsizing,
Yep.
looking for a simpler lifestyle instead of taking care of a big house. They want to focus on life and not on taking care of a home.
That is the nice thing.
Yeah.
For the most part, there are some single family homes, but though very few, less than 1%. Most of it is like a condo or a co-op. And
Hmm.
I think that that's one of the biggest assets of Rossman. We're going to actually talk about some of the other asset aspects of it. But to not have to worry about the landscaping at my house is very attractive to me.
And you're old enough to move in. So
I am. That's
finally.
by a couple years. I Well, it's actually kind of a joke. I mean, I have really bad allergies. I'm allergic to everything, and so when I mow the lawn and all those little bits of cut grass land on my skin, I just break out in a rash all over.
Oh.
And so it was it was a hard step for me to hire someone to mow my lawn. It just kind of
Mhm.
felt like that's what the hoity-toity do. But I don't even know what hoity-toity means, but you know what I mean. Um,
I'll answer that on the next podcast.
all right. Yeah, important real estate questions.
Exactly.
Um,
Hoity.
but I have to tell you, it was such a relief because I would have to on Saturday mow the lawn and then immediately go take a shower to stop from breaking out. But but to not have to worry about that at all, have that kind of built in, and they do such a great job. I mean, sometimes you see condo and HOA run properties, and they're trying to save money, and so they do a lot of things that aren't as attractive. But I feel like Rossmoor's got a lot of beautiful landscape.
You don't see a leaf out of place there. It's really kind of amazing. And they take care of the exterior of the buildings, which they should,
Yeah.
outside of the gate, as I call it, because Rossmoor has a security gate. Many HOAs are having financial problems now. Costs have gotten out of hand, and HOA dues have not been keeping up with the economy and inflation. And so, if there's damage to the exterior of of a home or a condo complex, they're expecting homeowners to pay for that. They don't even own that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
inside Rossmoor, they take care of all of it at a cost.
Yeah.
It's inexpensive to live there. It's inexpensive to buy there, but the HOA dues every month are pretty high, but you get a lot for it. And one of those things is immaculate exterior grounds and well-kept buildings.
I think that that's actually a really good point about how Rossmoor manages the quality of things. So when you buy one of the homes, and we'll dig into that a little bit, but you do own it. You're responsible for maintaining it, and if you want to remodel it, you can.
Yeah,
Some of the co-op units, they will maintain the appliances. That's kind of there's some details there that need to dig down to, but one of the things that Rossmoor does is whenever there's a sale, they go into every unit and make sure that anything that was done remodeled wise was done with permits and with permission and correctly.
yeah,
And they'll require the seller to rectify anything that's unsafe for sure. Like those
yeah,
things have to be done.
yeah,
And that list is ever changing. So when there's a reoccurring problem that starts happening, then they add that to the list. For
yeah,
instance, you have to put in braided hoses for any washing machine that you have rather than
yeah,
the old rubber ones because those
yeah,
tend to break with age. So there's more confidence for somebody buying that what they're getting is in better condition in addition to
mhm,
any kind of home inspection you might want to do.
right.
And it also protects neighbors, right? Because if you have that water leak upstairs and it damages your unit downstairs, you're the one that's inconvenienced. Even if somebody
Yeah,
else is paying for the repair, you have to deal with the disruption. So
yeah,
Rossmore is very proactive, not only in the landscaping, but in the buildings themselves to make sure
yeah,
that they are in good condition.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's an amazing place. That would be such a draw for me to not have to worry about taking care of, the exterior of our home, putting on a new roof, keeping it painted, keeping the landscaping looking good. Just let somebody else do it. I
Yeah,
mean, they even have a handyman service. If you need a light bulb change, for I think $275 a year, they come out and change your light bulb or
yeah,
clear a drain in your sink, or it's really an amazing, feature
yeah.
of living in Rossmoor.
Because I think it's important to point out that this is not a assisted living place at all. This is
No.
100% independent living. There is one kind of shade on the side of that in a place called the Waterford, but we'll come back to the Waterford part of it. But this is, you are self-sufficient adults moving into Rossmoor,
Yeah.
staying there. You just want to be in a community with like-minded people.
Yeah.
So, your near age peer group are not going to have noisy kids and tricycles to trip over or teenagers with music and cars.
Yeah.
These are people that are in your stage of life that, in theory, have similar behaviors and will be conducive to living near each other.
Yeah.
Um, but it's like, yeah, you don't want to do all these extra things. It's nice to
Yeah.
have those parts of it taken care of. Let's talk about the Waterford briefly.
Okay.
Because in addition to the condos and co-ops and the single family homes, they're really condos in the Waterford, though they operate differently than the rest. They have a dining room, and they have a meal plan that's built in. And
Mm-hmm.
there's some additional services, but there is no side-by-side aids. There's no medical care. You need
Yeah.
to be an independent adult.
Yeah.
What what some people do is they find this is the a nice place to be in an in between place because all the units have kitchens, so you
Yeah.
can still cook for yourself. But say you need somebody some assistance as a side-by-side aid, you can hire that outside person to come in
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
be with you or with your parent, depending upon
Hmm.
if you're what role you're playing. But they also don't need to do the laundry and don't need to do meal prep, so it's a little bit easier.
Or housekeeping. I
Or
mean,
housekeeping, yeah.
it includes 2 meals a day, right? And housekeeping.
Yes.
Does it include laundry or is that additional? I mean, I would pay somebody to come and do my laundry.
I I I think I'm not sure if it's included, but there is
Yeah,
a service there.
it's an option. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of, there's 300 units in 2 buildings. It kind of looks like a hotel.
Hmm.
It's interior hallways and everything has a little private patio and they're really, really nice. But then there's, community rooms and of course a dining room and things like that. It's kind of a step between leisure living and maybe if you end up going into assisted living, it's that transitional step for many people.
And as you might imagine, the monthly cost of the HOA fee for living in the Waterford is significantly higher to cover
Mhm.
all those additional
Yep.
services.
Yep. Yep.
Um,
But a great place to a great option if you're not
yeah.
wanting to live on in one of the condos or co-ops. The funny thing about Rossmoor is that almost I don't know what 80% of the units have stairs.
Yeah, and I think that there's part of me that initially was like, why that? Um, but I actually think that having the stairs is a benefit to most
Hmm.
home residents. And I'm going to quote my mom on this. So my mom lived in a split level house till she was in her mid 80s,
Hmm.
and she attributes her continued strength to be able to walk, even
Yeah.
though she had severe arthritis, but going up and down those stairs.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
she didn't have to go to the gym, although she did go do water aerobics pretty regularly until late. But it was just, the one little extra thing. I mean, I don't know about you, but I've taken to parking not trying to park in the closest parking spot to where I'm going, but use stairs to try and, well, again, my false hip to work a little bit better. But just the activity, the motion
Yeah.
will keep your body functioning.
Yeah. I watched my mom deteriorate when she walked less and less and eventually couldn't walk, and it was just not a good way to go.
Yeah, I mean, that being said, there are some level in. I don't know what the percentage is, but there are a number of level in units with no steps going in and
Mhm.
out. So that's if that's an important to you, or if you have some other reason to do that. We also will notice that some people will install chair lifts to be able to go up and down the stairs to get in and out of their
Mhm.
unit.
Yeah.
So those seem to be a little less common than they used to be.
Yeah, I don't
Uh,
see many of them anymore.
no, yeah, they don't seem to be as popular. Uh, so yeah, and there's one floor plan, the Piedmont that actually is 2 levels interior. So most of the units we talk about having stairs is stairs to get in, but they did build at least one floor plan throughout that has 2 levels inside, which that one's a little more curious.
Yeah, not one of my favorite floor plans. It feels cramped in there. I don't know
People
what.
don't seem to like them for lots of
No,
reasons.
no, no. There are a lot of floor plans in Rossmoor. I don't know what, 50, 40, or 50 different floor
Something
plans.
like that. Yeah.
A lot. Some of them are the same exact floor plan, but they're called different things depending on if they're on the bottom or on the top. So that's one of there's all kinds of little quirky things about
Yeah.
Rossmoor,
Or,
endearing,
or
quirky.
if they're in the middle of a building as opposed to the end, and
Right,
and
right,
the,
right,
and
right.
the and a wrap is different from an expanded, and all sorts of other things like that.
It's almost like you have to learn a new language to work, live, and work in Rossmoor.
Absolutely. I mean, like the fact that they call them manners, I guess that was supposed to sound more sophisticated than a home
Yeah,
originally when they first built the first housing, they built them as co-ops because it was a kind of communal structure that we just didn't have a lot of at the time. So this is prior to the big condo conversions that happened in California in the
yeah,
70s.
yeah,
And so they looked to New York, where you had multifamily housing fairly common in New York City,
yeah.
and they have predominantly co-ops there. And so they adopted that as an ownership style. And so you have
Mhm.
you actually own a stock certificate in the in the building
Entire building. Yeah.
as
Yep.
opposed to your unit.
Yep.
And so the financing for it is a little bit different. And there's one parcel number for the whole building to pay property taxes. So you pay your property tax to the HOA, and then they make them the payment. Though your property tax is based on when you purchase, so it changes um, as a partition, or what's the word I'm looking for? But whatever your section of the building is, you're paying property tax on that,
Yeah.
even though it goes in as one payment.
It's a term that people get hung up on, and I'll say it here, and I say it to clients all the time. Do not get hung up on the term co-op. It's just a form of ownership. If you were standing side by side with a co-op on one side and a condo on the other, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. They look the same. It's a form of ownership.
Yeah. The,
So,
the only thing I would say is that when you go to sell, there is a perceived, as we're telling the buyer, there shouldn't be any difference. They have a perceived difference. And there is a couple real world consequences like financing and things like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
But your living experience is the same. But
yeah,
your
yeah.
consequently, the value is a little bit different. One of the nice things about the co-ops in Rossmoor is that if the appliances and the heater and the water heater and the air conditioner were original merchandise, then the HOA continues to maintain them and replace them when they
Yeah,
don't work,
yeah,
which is a great perk going back to the, hey, I don't want to pay for anything.
yep.
In the condo owned properties, that's not true. Or if it's a co-op and an owner along the way chose to remodel and upgrade to some nicer appliances,
Hmm.
then the new owner is responsible for replacing those appliances. That doesn't happen typically with the air conditioner, heater, and water heater. Those don't. That's not as applicable there. But if you got these brand new stainless steel refrigerator and a convection range, uh,
Hmm.
those are going to be on you.
Yeah. The ones that Rossmore will replace are usually plain white, nondescript appliances, no bells and whistles, just the basics, what you
They're
need, make some scrambled eggs or whatever you want to make.
very functional. Yeah,
Very functional. That's a good word for it. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
They do all the things they need to do.
Yeah. The other thing that's kind of interesting about Rossmore is there are not a lot of garages,
No,
mostly
that's true.
carports. Yeah.
I think the one oversight is that most units, the vast majority of units, only have one parking spot.
Yeah.
And then there's a couple of guest parking, but they're not designed for that for to be the owner's second parking spot.
Right.
They're
Right.
not just open to be claimed.
Right.
And so I think that especially for active couples that are moving into Rossmore, that's
Hmm.
probably one of the bigger challenges, limiting what units they're going to look at. There are units that have two parking spots, and those typically one of those is a garage spot.
Yeah.
Um, there
Yep.
there's
Have we ever
very,
sold a
very
house?
few that have interior access from the garage. Well, I'm thinking,
Right. Those are the ones that are farther out at the other end.
yeah,
The newer construction, every so often you'll get one where you can access. They usually come in on a second floor though,
yes,
and then go down to the main living area, which
yeah,
is another interesting way to
yeah.
do a home. So, have we ever sold a house to a couple in Rossmore? It's mostly
I
singles, right?
did. I have.
Have you?
Yeah. Just, I think, do you remember just when I came to Dudum before we were partners and I sold the house on Alfred Court? You
Yep, I
remember
remember
about that
that.
open house? Yeah. So those sellers bought in Rossmore.
Okay. Yeah, it's very rare for me personally to have sold to a couple. I did it once and the husband was ill and they knew he wasn't going to be around for long. And he wasn't, unfortunately, but I think everything else has been singles.
Yeah.
So,
I,
hence one parking space.
yeah. One parking spot yeah. Um, you'll see, speaking of parking, you'll see people putting in golf cart parking. We see that in some of the places they've designed it, and they have golf cart parking because one of the major features in Rossmoor is two golf courses, a 18-hole, I'll say championship course, and a 9-hole executive course.
Mhm.
And there's lots of great things about the golf course. And so there's several people who have their own golf carts and they figure out a way to place to park them. Sometimes they cram them into their own parking spot by their car,
Hmm.
if their car is not too big. And then there are a few designated spots that
Four
people
golf carts.
have commandeered for that.
I
I
actually sold a house that where a golf or sold a unit that a golf cart came with it, which was kind of fun.
Well, didn't the one that D bought have a golf cart spot?
It did. Yeah, it did have one. I can see her zipping around in a golf cart.
I absolutely can see her do that. We had a client that we sold a house to. I mean, so there's tons of super fascinating, interesting people in Rossmoor from
Yeah.
all sorts
Oh,
of
yeah.
different walks of life. So, like the couple I just told you, he was a Harley Davidson mechanic for most of his
Oh,
career,
oh, interesting.
and she was a nurse, and just people I know from church, just the amazing people. And then
Yeah.
last year, so like on the other end of experiences, we sold it to a former diplomat. What she worked for the State Department. I'm not sure if
Yeah.
she was a
State
diplomat.
Department.
Her
And
and
it's been her career living all over the world.
very
Fascinating.
fascinating. Most
Yeah.
recently in Iceland.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so she came to the Bay Area because her sister and family live in Walnut Creek. So they were
Yeah.
coming, she was moving here to be closer. And she talked about taking up golf.
Yeah.
And so she was kind of excited. I guess she had taken some golf lessons in her life, but because of moving around, it never was a thing. And so
I think
there
she got
it,
a new hip in preparation for it. She was very young for her age.
yeah,
She got a new hip and now she can go play golf.
yeah. We got hips about 2 months apart from each
I
other.
think you guys compared notes. Yes.
Yeah.
She
Um,
was lovely.
So there's a bunch of things about the golf course that play into Rossmoor. One of the things, like, so we hinted at the previous name of Leisure World. I mean, golf is traditionally considered a leisure sport. Those
Mhm.
of us that play it,
Depends on how you play it.
I don't feel relaxed while I'm doing it.
I didn't either. I had to stop taking lessons because I was such a type A.
Yeah, like you have to quit gripping the club there,
Yeah, I
Sherry.
developed shoulder problems because I gripped the club too hard.
Like, yeah.
It was not my thing.
No, no, not leisure. But so they have, I mean, so they got the two courses. They have a iron driving range, meaning that it's not long enough for you to use your driver. And owners get to play, I think the current green fees is $10 a round, which is ridiculous. If you compare that to
Wow.
Boundary Oak, where the average green fee at Boundary Oak is about $60 now. So you have that kind of built in. You can invite your friends to come play with you. They pay a little bit more, but it's still not a very expensive course to play. They got a clubhouse to hang out in and have restaurants after your
Mhm.
round. So that's all
Mhm.
just like you would anywhere. Um, but the golf course itself, it's such a beautiful feature of Rossmoor because it runs down the center of the valley and it's
Yeah.
lush and green. The wildlife that you see on the golf course every day between deer or geese or rabbits or sometimes coyotes and foxes is just kind of a reminder of the abundance of life all around us here, even though we're
Yeah.
adjacent to this urban experience in Walnut Creek. And then on Mondays, the courses are closed. I believe it's Monday. It might be Tuesday, but I think it's Monday.
It was,
And you can go for a walk through the golf course like you're
yeah.
walking through the park instead of walking along the road or in the
Yeah.
trails up on the hills. And that's very cool. Um, and then there's actually kind of there's a practicalness to it is we talk a little bit about fire insurance. Now, the golf course acts as a natural fire break when they show these devastating fires throughout Northern California,
Yeah.
and it comes to something like a high school where there's a football field or a golf course that because one, the golf course is usually lush and green, and so it's wetter, doesn't catch fire readily. And
Right.
two, it's like having a fire break, and that rarely does the fire jump across the golf course and continue on the other side.
Right.
And so it has that purpose. And then there's actually a third purpose is that part of the emergency plan, if there was an issue where people had to evacuate, they're going to evacuate people down to the golf course as a
Yeah.
safe place for them to go
Yeah.
as they're queuing people up to leave the valley
Yeah.
or just to stay. So it looks nice, it's an attractive activity, and it has kind of a safety benefit to it as well.
Rossmore has a plan for everything. I mean, nothing goes unnoticed there. It's like I was going through a brochure online. looking for some information and was surprised to see a well-organized fire escape plan by area
Hmm.
where it tells you exactly where you're supposed to go in case of a fire. So, and it seemed people think there's one way in and one way out. There's actually fire gates that can be opened in other parts of the community for egress in case of an emergency. So they think of everything out there.
The way the homes are clustered, they have what are called entries, which is basically just the driveway for
Hmm.
several buildings together. And if you look at those entry signs, there's a fire code on them that isn't obvious unless you know to look for it.
Yep.
And they are sequenced and numbered, and
Yep.
people are supposed to know what there are, what
Where
entry,
you go.
what that inch. And when the fire department comes, they use those as their markers to go attend to whatever it is they need to do. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, very, very forward thinking about that.
Yep. Yep.
There, water is a big issue and rain and use of water. And that's one of the active conversations that Rossmoor is having about how to keep the golf course green under California laws around using water for things like that. So they are developing a reclamation plan. And I don't know if you noticed when you're driving in on Rossmoor Parkway before you get to the entry gate on the right, there's kind of a low-lying area where there's reeds and things like that.
Hmm.
And I think that there's some plan to develop that into a water retention space so that they can collect rainwater, but then also maybe retain some creek water and use that for irrigating the. So I don't, nobody should listen to that's what the Rossmoor plan is, but that's the kind of things that they're talking about to make sure it continues to be a viable, um, safe place to live. Now, what are some of the other amenities that Rossmoor has besides the golf course? Because clearly that's not what most people are doing.
Well, it's got five really nice clubhouses and a what they're calling a state-of-the-art fitness center. That's what, maybe 5 years old. It is lovely.
Yeah.
I
Uh,
mean, yeah, I would love to have access to that fitness center.
yeah, there's no need to join an outside gym. They have an indoor pool. I think there might even be two pools there, one designed specifically for water aerobics and then lap
Hmm.
swimming in the other one.
Yeah,
And then all the kinds of equipment that you'd expect in a another kind of gym, so treadmills and exercise bikes, and they have some weights and machines, though less
yeah,
of those.
yeah. But
Exercise rooms for things like Zumba and Pilates and yoga.
yeah. And there are pools in a couple of the other clubhouses as well. I think, is it Hillside that has one? I can't remember. I think
Yeah,
there's one.
so Hillside has one. So the fitness center pool is open year round, and I don't think there are any outdoor pools that are open year round.
Okay.
So the pools like the one at Hillside are open about 9 months. They just figure not enough people are using them in the winter to keep
Yeah, yeah,
open. And then there's a couple of the apartment style buildings at the west end of the valley where they have that
yeah.
building
Their own pool.
own pool. Yeah, but
Yeah,
there's I think in addition to the clubhouse pool, there's I think three that are open throughout the valley for
yeah.
everybody.
They have a new, well, I would say new event center. It's not that new, maybe 10
Yeah,
years
yeah.
old. They have so many there's so many things to do in Rossmoor. You know, they have movie nights. They
Speakers,
have
a speaker series.
I was just going to say they have a
Oh,
speaker series. I'm a quilter, and some of the older ladies in my group who live in Rossmoor are part of the Rossmoor quilting community. They have their own room, they have their own storage for fabric that gets donated, and so that they can go in and they make tons of charity quilts. I mean, 200 clubs and organizations. They have their own lapidary room. Did you know that?
a what room?
Lapidary.
All right. So I'm either having a stroke or you're saying a word I've never heard before.
Lapidary, lapidary.
All right, help me out here. What is that?
Oh, I knew you're going to ask me. Isn't it rock collecting? Isn't it? What
All
is?
right, so you're gonna use the word and you don't know the definition of it? Come
Oh, I know
on.
it. Hold on, lapidary. Lapidary meaning related to stones and gems, the work of involved in engraving, cutting, or polishing. They have their own lapidary room
That's
for
that's
rock
amazing.
collectors.
So they have a
They have
wood,
a wood shop.
yeah. Yeah, I know that some of my peers, they don't want to give up their tools, and it's not the same to go use a public wood shop, but it's not like you have to give up on it altogether. Uh, all sorts of different stuff. Travel clubs, uh, faith communities that gather
Yeah.
both inside the gate and outside.
Pickleball. They converted
Oh,
their tennis
pickleball.
courts to pickleball. Did you hear about the women who got into a fist fight and got arrested at the pickleball court?
All right, so I'm not sure. So we're talking about Rossmoor very positively here, but we have to acknowledge that sometimes things happen when you put a bunch of people together, regardless of age or class or whatever else. Um, so there was some hair pulling at the pickleball court, but it was not about pickleball. It was
Hair
about
pulling.
it was about
It was
politics.
about politics. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
So
laughing about it. It's a funny story, but it's very serious too. The times we live in when people are.
I think that story made national news.
I think it did too.
It was very embarrassing. Like that's why we know Walnut Creek. I mean, it at least when in Percy Jackson we had like some, there was Mount Olympus. We were famous for something not positive, but in a positive story. But anyway, whatever. Um, Great. All right. So clubs, activities, lawn bowling. We have one of the premier lawn bowling, tennis courts, a table tennis, a clubhouse just for the table tennis,
It's,
in
I
the
think
parking
that's,
lot over there by the lawn bowling. Picnic areas.
yeah,
If you want to have a larger gathering of
yeah,
friends or your
yeah,
club wants to get together, you can, there's lots of spaces for that.
yeah.
Um, so, so there if somebody wanted to investigate Rossmoor, what are some of the so even before we start looking at houses, how should they investigate what Rossmoor is all about?
Well, there's a great website that tells you everything you need to know about Rossmoor. I think it's rossmoor.com. And there's a 57-page PDF that explains every possible little thing that you need to know about Rossmoor.
Yeah, because we've only scratched the surface on I'll say the amenities, but the attractiveness of what it's like to live.
Yeah.
Um, all right, let's talk a little bit more about if somebody wanted to move there. While there is a company called Rossmoor Realty, they're not an official branch of Rossmoor. They're just a real estate company. So
Right.
you can work with anybody, any real estate agent to find a home in
Mhm.
Rossmoor.
Yeah.
And for agents like us who actively work there, you really should use somebody who knows what's happening there. So, because
There's a lot to know about living there
it's not
and
just like
about
another
selling there.
yeah, it's not just like another neighborhood anywhere else. So, what are some of the top of the mind things that they immediately need to know about when they're looking at houses and homes in Rossmoor?
Well, if they're looking at a co-op, for example, they need to know that they have to use a special lender who does co-op properties because not everybody does them. It used to be just one company in the United States back in Ohio who did them. They had a local rep out here. But now there's a few more that do co-ops. So that's a big deal if you are not a cash buyer, for starters. And you need to think about oh, gosh, there's so many things to think about.
So, there's buy-in to the Golden Rain Foundation, which is
Yeah.
think of it as a governing HOA. That's not exactly how they consider
Hmm.
themselves, but it's a governing association for all
We
home
call it a membership fee.
membership fee. And
Hmm.
it's going up, I think, to 18,000 this next year.
Yeah.
One-time fee. Once you're in, you can move within Rossmoor as often as you want,
Yeah.
but it needs to be taken into consideration on your cash available as you're buying.
Yep. It's part of your closing costs.
Um, so you're talking about co-ops. So
Mhm.
uh,
Co-ops versus condos. Location. Do you want to? I mean, Rossmore is about what, 11 miles long from gate to the far
oh, is it that
water.
long? I was thinking more like five, but either way, it's a
Anyway, it's a
1,500
little bit of a
acres.
hike out there. So if you're going to be coming and going, if you're still working, for example, you've got to take into consideration if you're all the way out at the far end, how long it's going to take you to get to the gate in the morning.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no traffic in Rossmore except at the gate during rush hour, but or do you want to be closer in, or do you want to be near a clubhouse? I had a woman who sold her house once and moved closer to Hillside just because she loved What is the game they play over at Hillside?
Oh, I don't know, Mahjong,
No, 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 no. The shuffleboard or no, you mentioned it earlier. Anyway,
lawn bowling.
lawn bowling. She wanted to be closer to the lawn bowling, so I sold her a house
Oh,
and she
yeah.
moved so she could walk across the street and do lawn bowling.
Um,
I'm off topic. Sorry about that.
no, that's all
Yeah,
good.
location is a big deal. Do you need it? Do you want a view?
Yeah. So the homes in Rossmoor were built over a period of 40, maybe even 50 years, depending on when
Hmm.
we first started to the last things that got built. And as they got built in clusters, those clusters organized themselves in what we call mutuals, which are HOAs, they're homeowner
Hmm.
associations.
Yeah.
And so they could be governed in smaller and more common type activities. So, for instance, if something that was built, you know, 10 years apart, that they're going to need maintenance in a different cycle. So rather than have everybody grouped together, they're grouped more like that. So there's a bunch of different floor plans available in the different mutuals. It's not that they're all identical, but they were all built at a similar time.
Yeah.
And those HOA dues, the mutual dues, again, going back to Rossmoor specific nomenclature, they call it the coupon,
Hmm.
but it's a monthly fee.
Hmm.
Whatever you want to call it, it's money out of your pocket every month. And some of that money goes to the mutual that's taking care of the actual maintenance of your building, and some of it goes to the parent HOA, the Golden Rain Foundation, which typically takes care of the landscaping and the community features like the clubhouses and the golf course and
Yeah.
such.
Yeah.
And then if you're in a co-op, the third component of that is your property tax. If you own a condo, you pay your property tax separately, so that is a monthly expense for your budget. But in a co-op, it actually comes out of that coupon. So that's one of the things you need to consider is when you're searching for a home, is looking at what those HOA dues are. And they have gone up quite a bit over the last couple of years. I don't think except for the Waterford that anything is as much as 2,000 a year, but we're approaching that in many of the mutuals.
Yeah.
Some of that is deferred maintenance, but a big portion of that has to do with insurance.
Yep. Yep. Tell me more about the insurance situation out there because I know it's been a factor for a
Yeah.
while.
So insurance costs across the board in California, as everybody knows, has been a growing challenge with wildfires and other natural disasters and insurance companies trying to manage their expenses and of course their profits.
Hmm.
Um, and so the bill for Rossmoor to insure the whole property. So this is in addition to when you buy a condo or a co-op, you get a policy that just covers from the walls in. You're not insuring the replacement of the building because you don't own the building. You only own
Hmm.
space. So it covers your personal belongings and some liability and a couple things like that. But the basics, majority of the expense is taken on by the mutuals and the Golden Rain Foundation for the whole
Hmm.
facility. And those costs have gotten just out of control. And so Rossmoor made a decision because every time they get a new insurance bill and it goes up, they have to pass that on to the residents. Well, most of those residents are on a fixed income,
Yeah.
and nobody likes to have them go up. So they did a hybrid. They partially raised the dues that each owner did in a way that made some people uncomfortable, and maybe even some people had to move out because it was too much. But they also decided not to fully insure the whole valley.
Yeah.
So they're betting, and all the best wisdom of things that you can see out there is likely that they made a good bet to not insure 100% replacement of the whole valley. So they are betting that the whole valley is not going to burn down all at
Right.
once.
Right.
Um, and we mentioned that earlier about the golf course being one of those things that will protect Rossmoor from having a total destruction. That the golf
Yeah.
course is likely a way that's going to stop the fire
Yeah.
doing a complete burn down.
Yep.
So there's been unintended fallout from that is that when lenders are looking at these condos and co-ops also, And they look at that policy and they say, well, if you're not insuring 100%, how do we know that our investment is going to be rebuilt?
Right.
And rather than deal with the sensibility of the actual liability, they're like, I don't have control over that. I don't want to lend on that. So it took a while for lenders to get their head around lending in that kind of environment. And there are lenders available. Those rates tend to be about a point higher than they are
Mhm.
for a similar condo
Mhm.
outside of Rossmoor.
Yeah.
But people are getting that financing. It's just being a little
It,
bit more diligent.
was it for about a year that they did not get any financing? It took a while for us to find lenders who were willing to lend. It really kind of brought sales of co-ops to a halt in
Yeah.
Rossmoor for a little
Yeah.
while.
Yes, we got lenders for the condos sooner than we did for the co-op.
Yeah, yeah. About 50% of sales in Rossmoor are cash, which is lower than it used to be. The rest are financed loans, just like outside of Rossmoor for a single family home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, talking a little bit about price, so the if you're wondering what it costs to buy a place in Rossmoor, there's a huge variety. I think the least expensive home this last year sold for under 200,000,
Hmm.
and the most expensive home was over 3 million.
Yeah.
And I don't know who was buying a house in Rossmoor for 3 million, but I'm not asking. I think it was an all cash buyer, and
Yeah.
I think it was a second home, which
Yeah.
kind of checks out. It was,
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
um,
That's a big range of prices. So,
yeah.
but it's still less expensive to buy in Rossmoor than it is to buy outside in Walnut Creek
So if you're going to look at
by
a
far.
two-bedroom co-op, two-bedroom, one bath co-op, about 1,000 square feet, that was clean and nice, but nothing remodeled. Standard
Hmm.
white appliances. You can probably get that for about 400,000.
Hmm. Yep.
And then if you want something that's been remodeled, maybe has crown molding added, some nicer cabinets added, nicer appliances,
Hmm.
that could get you to 750-ish.
Hmm.
And then you go to the co-ops or the condos, and then they jump about 100, 150,000 above both those things. And then you have some ones that are newer or larger floor plans, two bathrooms, and they go up from there. I mean, I think that there's a collection that are around 1 million to 1.2, but the vast majority, I think, are 800 and less.
Yeah. Yeah. You cannot buy that outside in Walnut Creek.
No, no, no.
You cannot get anything. Well, you can get, well, that's not true. Out on Oak Road, there are homes in the 500, 600, condos in the fives and sixes. So,
Yeah,
but I guess the big question is, as we start to wind down here, is would you ever live in Rossmoor?
it's a good question. So, yes, I would.
Hmm.
I don't think my wife is ready to even have that conversation.
Hmm.
Our kids are like 85% launched. I don't
Hmm.
anticipate either one of them moving home, though
Hmm.
that's, that there's still some possibilities about that.
Hmm.
And that would be 100% okay. But so moving to Rossmore would make that difficult because
Hmm.
as 20 or 20 somethings, they would not be welcome for an extended stay.
Hmm.
I forget what it is. I think it's like a month that they can stay or a cumulative of 30 days over a year or something. Who
Yeah,
knows?
it's not much.
Um, the so there's that reason, and I don't think she's invested so much in decorating our house. I don't think that she wants to give that up just yet. But I
Hmm.
would gladly give up the mowing of the lawn and
Yeah.
all of that. I would gladly not pay for a gym membership and utilize the fitness center.
Yeah.
I would play golf on the golf course. Uh,
Uh-huh.
I'm yet to find something on this scenario that I don't like. I mean,
It sounds like a yes.
I don't have I mean, I haven't had a shared wall or had somebody live above or below me, which many of the units have one of those, if not
Yeah.
more than one of those.
Yeah.
And so who knows? Maybe I mean, I joke all the time. I never dreamed about growing up to be a grumpy old man, but here I am killing it. Um, I don't know whether that makes me qualified to move into Rossmore or not. I don't think people that live there are grumpy, but would I be grumpy if I had to share a wall? I don't know.
Huh. I think for me, that is probably the biggest thing since I spent most of my life living in share, except when I lived at home, obviously, with my parents. But I spent most of my life living in shared walls and shared ceilings, because I lived in the city for so long. And even up until about 8 years ago, I had never lived in a single family home on my own. And I've learned that I really like it. I really like not having shared walls and wondering what that noise is. And really, are you playing that TV that loud at, 1 o'clock in the morning? And so there's some things I really love about Rossmoor, the maintenance and how pristine it is, and the gated community and all the amenities. But I don't think I'm ready to live in shared walls yet.
Yeah, it's
So
it's not for everybody.
no,
Uh,
no.
yeah, I so my ideal would be to sell our house, buy a vacation place like in
Hmm.
Wayne Hart or something,
Uh-huh.
and except that wouldn't be the vacation place. That would be we'd live there,
Hmm.
um, and then I would come down on weekends to do real estate and stay at our place in Rossmoor. But that makes me sound like I have a lot of resources to buy two houses, and that's probably not the case. But I can fantasize, can't I? Well, all right. That was kind of fun. I'm not sure how this is going to splice, but we record this via Zoom, and Sherry does it from her house, and I'm in the office, and her power went out, so I lost her. Um, I'm not sure how I'm going to edit this, but anyway, if you have any questions about Rossmoor, if you're curious about whether it's the right place for you, you'd like just a tour of the valley and show you the amenities, that's great. If you'd like to look at homes, any of that, please give us a call. All right. Thanks for checking in with us. We'll look forward to seeing you next time. Dorothy was right. There's no place like home.